Ethan Cross had built empires on predictability. Every minute of his life was scheduled, calculated, controlled. So when the board meeting ended 3 days early, it felt wrong, like the universe had made a clerical error. His assistants buzzed around him, suggesting dinners, flights, conferences. Ethan waved them off. For once, he didn't want noise. He didn't want applause. He wanted home. The driver looked surprised when Ethan gave the address. "Sir, today." "Yes," Ethan said quietly, staring out the window. The city blurred past, glass towers giving way to iron gates and manicured lawns. The mansion came into view, grand and lifeless, just as it always did. From the outside, it looked perfect. From the inside, Ethan knew it was hollow. He stepped inside expecting the echo of his own footsteps. That sound usually greeted him. Cold marble, high ceilings, reminders of everything money could buy and everything it couldn't. Since his wife's death 2 years ago, the house had stopped feeling like a home. His children had stopped laughing the same way. And Ethan had stopped staying. He loosened his tie and set his briefcase down by the door. "Kids," he called out. No answer. His heart tightened. Panic came quickly now. Too quickly. He told himself not to overthink it. They were probably napping or watching TV, but the silence pressed against his ears. He walked deeper into the house, checking the kitchen, the dining room, the empty study where his wife used to sit and read. Then he heard it, a soft voice, humming. Ethan froze. It came from the living room, gentle, low, almost hesitant, like someone afraid to be heard. It wasn't a song from the radio or a cartoon jingle. It was human, warm, alive. The sound sent a strange ache through his chest, the kind he usually drowned with work and whiskey. He took slow steps toward the sound, his breath shallow. With each step, memories surfaced, his wife humming while cooking, while folding laundry, while calming crying children. Ethan swallowed hard. He hadn't realized how much he missed that sound until now. Reaching the doorway, he stopped. Something was happening in his home without him. And for the first time in years, Ethan Cross felt afraid, not of loss, not of failure, but of what he might discover if he looked inside. Ethan rested his hand against the doorframe, steadying himself before he looked. The humming grew clearer now, weaving gently through the quiet house. He leaned forward just enough to see into the living room, and his breath caught painfully in his throat. Rosa was sitting on the floor. Not on the sofa, not in a chair, on the rug, cross-legged, like she belonged there. His children were with her. His son lay stretched beside her, his head resting against her arm, small fingers clutching the fabric of her sleeve as if letting go would cause the world to collapse. His daughter sat curled in Rosa's lap, eyes half closed, thumb tracing absent circles on Rosa's palm. They looked safe. They looked held. The coffee table was pushed aside. Crayons were scattered across the floor, some broken, some dulled from overuse. Sheets of paper were covered in crooked hearts, stick figure families, and names written again and again in a child's careful hand. In the center lay an old photo album Ethan hadn't opened in over a year. Rosa was speaking now, her voice low and tender. "Your mama used to sing this when you wouldn't sleep," she said softly, brushing his daughter's hair back. "She said it made bad dreams lose their way." Ethan's chest burned. He hadn't sung to them since the funeral. Every song reminded him of what was gone. But Rosa hadn't avoided the memories, she had carried them. His son stirred. "Did Mama really laugh loud?" he murmured. Rosa smiled, the kind that holds sadness. Without breaking. "Loud enough to scare the birds," she said. "Your father used to pretend he was annoyed, but he loved it." Ethan felt exposed, like someone had read pages from a diary he thought no one remembered. These weren't stories Rosa could have guessed. They were truths. His daughter looked up. "Do you think she can see us?" Rosa didn't hesitate. "I know she can," she said. "And I know she's proud." Ethan's vision blurred. He hadn't realized how deeply his children had been starving. Not for toys, not for space, but for permission to remember. For someone to say their mother's name without flinching. He stepped back slightly, unseen, his heart pounding. In that moment, Ethan understood something devastating. While he was building companies and chasing numbers, someone else had been quietly rebuilding his children's broken world. One story, one song, one moment at a time. Ethan stayed hidden, his back pressed against the cool wall, afraid that even the sound of his breathing might shatter the fragile moment unfolding in the living room. His heart was pounding now, not with panic, but with shame. A deep, heavy shame that settled into his bones. Rosa closed the photo album slowly. The soft thud echoed louder in Ethan's chest than it did in the room. His son shifted closer to her. "Rosa," he asked, his voice small. "Why doesn't Daddy talk about Mama anymore?" The question sliced through Ethan. Rosa didn't rush her answer. She thought carefully, as if choosing words that could heal rather than harm. "Sometimes," she said gently, "when someone loves very deeply, the pain of losing that love feels too big to touch. So they lock it away, hoping it will hurt less. But it still hurts," his daughter whispered. "Yes," Rosa replied, nodding. "It does. But not because Daddy forgot. It's because he remembers every day." Ethan closed his eyes. The truth in her words struck harder than any accusation ever could. He had convinced himself that silence was strength, that providing, protecting, and staying busy was enough. But Rosa saw what he refused to see. His children didn't need a shield. They needed him present, even if that presence came with tears. His daughter's voice trembled. "Did we do something wrong?" Ethan's chest tightened painfully. Rosa pulled both children into her arms. "No, my loves, never. Grief makes adults quiet sometimes. But your daddy's heart is louder than you think." A tear slid down Ethan's cheek. He wiped it away angrily, as if embarrassed to be caught by his own emotions. He remembered all the nights he came home late, peeking into their rooms while they slept, convincing himself that watching from a distance was enough. It wasn't. His son sniffed. "I just want Daddy to stay." The words shattered what little control Ethan had left. He covered his mouth as a sob escaped. The truth was undeniable now. His absence hadn't been neutral. It had been felt, deeply. And yet, instead of resentment, his children still hoped. Still waited. Rosa rocked them gently. "He will," she said with quiet certainty. "And when he does, you'll see, your daddy's tears will only mean how much he loves you." Ethan's knees weakened. For the first time since his wife's death, he wasn't afraid of breaking down. He was afraid of never showing up whole. Ethan stepped into the living room before he could lose his nerve. The floor creaked beneath his shoe, a small, ordinary sound, but it carried the weight of confession. Rosa looked up first. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in understanding. She had known, somehow. She always did. The children turned, surprise flashing across their faces. For half a second they froze, as if unsure whether he was real or just another quiet hope. Then his daughter's face crumpled. "Daddy," she whispered. Ethan dropped to his knees. The world he had built, glass towers, contracts, numbers, fell away. None of it mattered as his children ran into his arms, their small bodies colliding with his chest. He held them tightly, afraid that if he loosened his grip, they might slip back into the distance he had created. His shoulders shook. He didn't hide it. He couldn't. "I'm here," he said, voice breaking. "I'm so sorry I was gone even when I was home." His son buried his face into Ethan's jacket. "We thought you didn't want to be sad with us." Ethan pulled back just enough to look at them, tears streaming freely. "I was afraid," he admitted. "But I'm not anymore." Rosa quietly stood, gathering the crayons, giving them space. Ethan noticed the instinct. To disappear, to stay invisible. "Rosa," he said firmly. She stopped. "Please, stay." She hesitated, then nodded. Ethan turned to her, emotion thick in his voice. "You didn't have to do any of this." Rosa smiled softly. "They needed someone who would sit on the floor," she replied. "Someone who would listen." Ethan swallowed hard. "You gave them what I couldn't." "No," Rosa said gently. "I held the place until you came back." Silence settled, but it was different now. Warm, full. Ethan pulled his children close again, pressing his forehead to theirs. For the first time since the funeral, he spoke his wife's name out loud. The children smiled through tears. That night, Ethan canceled every trip, every meeting. He sat on the living room floor, crayons in his hands, listening to stories he should have heard long ago. The mansion didn't change, but it finally became a home.